Hey everybody, what's up? Um, First of all, apparently you see it right there. It says R.I.P. Paul Bearer, or William Moody, aka Paul Bearer. This was kind of a surprise. Not a pleasant surprise if you're a long-time fan like I have been. I was only like 11 years old when The Undertaker debuted, and I think I was still 11 years old, going into my 12th year. Basically, I think it was beginning of '91. Around, I don't know exactly what time. I think it was around '91, and I was about about 5 months away from turning 12. And that's when I was watching. I think it was Wrestling Challenger Superstars. I can't remember. Excuse me. And Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard, passed the managing skills or the manageable services to Paul Bearer. Basically, he passed on the Undertaker to him to manage. And to me, creatively, this was one of the best decisions WWE ever made, because you have someone in William Moody, who many people, if you look in Mid-South and some of the independent regions, UWF, WCCW, name a few, that really made a name for himself as Percy Pringle. And and I think it was the AWA as well. I'm not really sure. It was one of those. I know it was WCCW, and I think he did a little UWF and a few others, and there was a lot more probably. I can't remember. But he was very well renowned as a manager and at times I think a wrestler. So when WWE decided to bring him in and repackage him, or package him, I should say, not repackage him, but package him as Paul Bearer, it was just perfect match, just perfect chemistry. I mean, you talk about the best managing superstar, the best superstar managing, or best superstar manager combo ever in the history of wrestling. WWE, or WWF at the time, and even now WWE, WCW, NWA, AWA, it doesn't matter. Even nowadays, Ring of Honor, TNA, there was no superstar manager combo like Undertaker and Paul Bearer. I mean, you can sit there and argue and make comparisons, but you can't. You can't do it. I mean, there's no way. There's no way you could do it. And when Mark Calloway, Undertaker, turned face in '92, you would have probably think that Paul Bearer wouldn't be part of that, but he was. And it really, his babyface turn was really solidified on that episode of The Funeral Parlor with Jake the Snake, trapped Taker's hand in the coffin, and he DDT'd Paul Bearer, basically solidifying Taker's turn as a good guy and Paul Bearer's turn as a good guy. So I really liked it. I mean, you still had the same dark presence, the same character and all that, but they were fan favorites. They were on the side of good. And rarely do you have, or even did you have that something like that happen. I mean, rarely do you have that in wrestling today. Do you have that? Because you don't. I mean, there's sometimes you do, and there's sometimes you don't. Like with Del Rio, you think him and Rodriguez, they started out as heels, and now they're fan favorites. Very rarely can this happen, but like I said, when you have a character and a manager that represent what they represented, very rarely do you have that kind of characters and those kind of characters be able to become the faces that they became, the good guys that they became, and still retain their dark presence. I mean, nobody has, to me, nobody's been able to do that. You know, has been able to stay the same along with their manager and themselves and be able to do that. Nobody. I mean, if you could tell me, give me one good example of who, I'd be impressed. But quite honestly, there is not one duo or tag team or managing stable, whatever, that was able to do what these guys did when they went from heel to face. It just could not be done. And yet these guys pulled it off perfectly, really, for about well on 5 years. Well on 5 years. And, you know, even when they decided, because, now here's the thing, I didn't watch much WWE when I was in Oskaloosa, when I was in high school, because we didn't have the USA Network where I lived, which was surprising. We had TNT, where Nitro and TBS, where Nitro and Thunder aired, but we didn't have any USA. We did have some syndications here, and we did have some primetime specials on Fox, but we didn't have anything else. So, anyway, you know, even, you know, after 5 years, even when they decided to turn Paul Bearer heel and have him align himself with Mankind, Mick Foley, and then later on Vader, and then later on after that, you know, bring in Kane, you know, it's like, it didn't matter who you paired him with. This guy, you know, whoever you paired him with became somebody. I mean, he basically, when he was with Mick Foley for a while as Mankind, you know, that was good chemistry. You know, he helped make Mick Foley's Mankind character be something, in a sense. When you paired him with Vader, yeah, even though it was a short-term deal, in a sense he helped Vader out in a big way. But then, you know, when you paired him up with Kane, Glenn Jacobs, when you took Glenn Jacobs, you took him out of that Isaac Yankem, that stupid-ass Isaac Yankem deal. Excuse my language. You took him out of that. When you took him out of that fake Diesel thing, and then you sent him to USWA to brushing up on his skills, and then you took him out from there and took him away from that Doomsday gimmick, and you made him Kane, you made him The Undertaker's brother, and you paired him with Paul Bearer. Even though I never saw that when it originally happened, I go back and I watch the highlights, the replays, anytime it's shown on television, or it's part of a DVD documentary, or some of the best matches in in WWE history, or even with the WWE 13 game. Every time I go back and watch that, and I see what they did afterwards, to me it was the same kind of magic, the same kind of chemistry that Paul Bearer had when he was brought in and paired with The Undertaker. Basically, I felt that same kind of chemistry when he was paired with with Kane. And I felt that chemistry. I felt that same magic. Because rarely can you find somebody that's willing to embrace that darkness, be that dark character, that no matter if you turn them heel or you turn them face, that someone like Paul Bearer, he could automatically turn face or heel with them. And that, to me, was the best thing about it, about Paul Bearer. I mean, it didn't matter who you paired him with, even if it was short term, you could turn that person face and he would turn face with them. You could turn that person heel, he would turn heel with them. I mean, they brought him back for a short time in 2004. What does that tell you? You paired him with The Undertaker until July, or until June or July. Then they brought him back, paired him back up with The Undertaker for a while, then had him turn heel, go back with Kane, and it still worked out. I mean, you had him recently on WWE television just last year, working with Kane. And even the year before that. or so working with Kane. It's like, you know, it didn't matter how you presented him with Kane or whoever he had to work with. It was instant magic, folks. Instant magic. And there's nothing that can compare to that. I mean, here's a guy that's willing to work with the WWE because of someone like Kane or The Undertaker, and it doesn't matter what the situation is. I mean, heck, they put him in a freezer, for goodness sakes, last year during Kane's rivalry with Randy Orton. What does that tell you? The bottom line is, it didn't matter who you paired him with in the WWE. Heck, it wouldn't have mattered who you paired him with on the independent circuit when he went back to it. It didn't matter who you paired him with in the WCCW, the UWF, wherever, before he came to WWE. For some reason, that person he associated with always became something, always became a bigger star down the line. Or a decent star down the line, if you will. You know, and they're always going to have on their resume, even if they go into a Hall of Fame, Percy Pringle, William Moody, Paul Bearer, as they could say that he was the manager, he was the associate. I mean, he even went to TNA to try to manage as himself. I don't know what happened there, but still, he went there to see what all the hubbub was about. And then, recently, after his time and after his short return in WWE and everything, he went to the independent circuit and tried to manage a few tag teams again, as himself. Because he knew he could make them something. But the thing is, despite that, despite what he did afterwards, despite what he's done before, he will always be remembered as the person that helped put The Undertaker on the map. He'll always be remembered as the person that no matter who you paired him with in WWE, WWF, that person would be put on the map, and that person would have great chemistry with Paul Bearer as the manager. And they would have some kind of magic. But when you paired him with Undertaker, and then later on they paired him with Kane, you got that same magic that you had 7 years before, 6 years before. And you can't say that you can get a manager of that's been the manager of somebody for 5 years, or a certain amount of years, and then bring in someone else and have that same kind of magic rub off on them, have that same kind of chemistry. But you had that with Undertaker, and you had that with Kane when they were both associated with Paul Bearer. So to me, I thank William Moody for everything he's done for the wrestling business and for helping put the Undertaker, the likes of the Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Vader, on the map. I really, really thank him for that. And my prayers go to his family. May God watch over his family. May God have a great place for him up in heaven. And thank you, William Moody, Paul Bearer, for all the memories. You will be missed. And if you have any comments and memories, comment down below. Video response down below. Thank you, Paul Bearer, William Moody, for all you've done.